Welcome back to the DFS Sweatshop. I am your host, the DFS Jerusalem, and you can follow me, of course, on Twitter at DFS Jerusalem. Today, we're going to be talking about tonight's 5-game NBA slate. It is a stack slate for us here in the DFS Sweatshop. You are more than welcome to cherry pick plays that you like, but I like to stack on slates that are 5 games or less. First thing you're going to see here is a little bit of slate recognition. I like to break it down, give us a look what we have. 7:30 is going to start with 5 games, but at 8:30 we've got a 3-game late. So those 3 games are very juicy, and I think that you may want to get a piece of those 3 games, make some lineups in there, and throw them bitches in the main. Make some lineups at 8:30 in the 8:30 contest, and throw them in the main. That's a very solid strategy. Has worked a ton for us in the DFS Sweatshop. So let's go ahead and crack it open and take a look at what we have as far as our players for the. Now, the first game we're going to be targeting is the Phoenix Suns going to Brooklyn and take on the Nets. This is a 223.5 point total, with the Phoenix Suns having an implied team total of 109.8, and the Brooklyn Nets having an implied team total of 113.8. So that means the Brooklyn Nets are, in fact, the home favorite. Let's go ahead and look at the Phoenix Suns side, and I think Tyler Ulis at 7.1. Going to be a guy that's going to see a ton of usage. We still have got game time decisions at the point guard position in the way of Ronnie Price. Don't think he's going to be very meaningful playing if he does get a chance to actually play in this game. Bledsoe's out. Brandon Knight's out. Allen Williams is a game time decision. A few guys that I could target in this offense is going to be Devin Booker, Alex Len, as well as Marquise Chris. Of course, Tyler Ulis, like we talked about, is a guy that's going to see a ton of usage. So I think that you could stack 4 deep on the Phoenix side just to get a piece of that 109.8 point total. On the Brooklyn Nets side, Brook Lopez, Rondae Hollis-Jefferson, and Karis LeVert definitely stand out to me here. You can look at their salaries, man. These are pretty much cheap stacks, and there's not a lot to pay up for on this actual slate. But if you wanted to pay down for somebody, I think Quincy Acey deserves consideration, as well as Isaiah Whitehead, if we know we're not going to be seeing Jeremy Lin. There are some injury concerns on the Brooklyn side when it comes to Jeremy Lin. We know that he and Sean Kilpatrick are going to be out of this game, so you can definitely target a little bit more of the wing players for the Brooklyn Nets, as that's probably where the scoring is going to come from. Guys like Karis LeVert, maybe some Rondae Hollis-Jefferson, and Brook Lopez is a player that I really like in this game. Next game we're going to talk about is the Toronto Raptors going to Miami to take on the Heat. This is a game that you've got to really pay attention to because the point total is fairly low. It's 203 is the entire total of the game. Toronto Raptors 99.5. We know that you've got Serge Ibaka suspended in this game, not going to be playing at all. So that's going to leave them very short-handed. And, the points are going to go, there's not too many places where the actual points can go. We know DeMar DeRozan is a guy that can get his at 8.7. He is priced up just a touch. Jonas Valanciunas definitely deserves our consideration. And you might see Patrick Patterson a lot, and he's a very cheap option at 3.6K. I think he's somebody that you can look to if you wanted to, use that salary savings in order to pay up for a more expensive stack. I think that Patrick Patterson can be somebody that you can get in your lineups, as well as PJ Tucker. Those would be the guys that I would be targeting from the Toronto Raptors side. On the Miami Heat side, they've got injury concerns as well. Hassan Whiteside may not play in this game. And if that's the case, then you're going to see Willie Reed. Now, Willie Reed is a very, very solid backup center. When he does get a chance to get starters minutes, he does ball out. Tyler Johnson is going to be in play as well. And you also can look to James Johnson too. Now, Goran Dragic is priced up just a touch. He's at 8K, went down from 8.1. I think that price is still just a little bit too high because you know that they're going to spread the ball around, man. Josh Richardson is going to be in play in some spots. You're going to have, like I said, James Johnson, Tyler Johnson, as well as Wayne Ellington could see some run. So there's quite a few guys from the Miami side that we really could target. So make sure that you're up to date on any of the injury news. You see if Hassan Whiteside is going to be playing or not. If he does play and he's good to go, I do like him against Jonas Valanciunas. So that is definitely a team that you can look, or a game that you can look to stack. The next game we're talking about is the LA Clippers going to Dallas to take on the Mavericks. This is another low point total, 206.5. We have an implied team total on the Dallas Mavericks side of 101.3, and the LA Clippers at 105.3. Now, just the fact that this is one of the lower point total games is going to make us take a quick look at the stars, because generally these are all world-class talents, man. Usually the stars are going to get theirs. They're definitely going to get theirs. People like Chris Paul. I like Chris Paul at the price point. I have no issue there, even though DraftKings will tell you that this is the fourth ranked DVP against the point guard position, but that's not true at all. Actually, it's a 22nd ranked DVP is what he's up against, so I have no issue there. I do like Blake Griffin in this spot. I'm not worrying about anybody resting because they just had a night off, so I don't have any issue rostering fairly deeply on the LA Clippers side. DeAndre Jordan is in the second ranked DVP against that center spot, so I may want to push more of my coverage over from Chris Paul to Blake Griffin for that correlation, as well as maybe hitting the bench a little bit and grabbing a guy like Austin Rivers that could see some run if the game does get out of hand. So those would be the three guys that I like the most for the LA Clippers. Now, on the Dallas Mavericks side, there is an injury concern there. Lobra is actually a game time decision tomorrow. And, I really didn't like him very much anyway. I think that I hope he's out, because that's going to give us a chance to roster a couple of the cheaper guys that can definitely see some solid minutes. Number one, the first guy that I do like is going to be Dirk Nowitzki. I like the spot that he is in at 6.2K. That is not a bad price on him at all. Wesley Matthews is somebody that I do have consideration. I'm going to give consideration to, as well as Nerlens Noel and JJ Barea. So that is a 4 deep kind of stack that we can rock with. I like this as a game stack, and that Dallas stack is so cheap that you could pay up for some other studs. Even though, there's not a ton of guys to pay up for on this small 5-game slate, but I definitely see the value in rocking cheap with the Dallas Mavericks and then paying up in some other spots to get the guys that you really like. So the next game we're going to talk about is a game I do not want you to fear. This is the lowest point total on the slate. And what this means to me is Kawhi is going to do work. It means Gasol, Conley are going to do work. It means LaMarcus Aldridge is in a good spot. So while I wouldn't roster, 3, 4, 5 deep on any side of these lineups, what I will do is take advantage of some of those higher price guys that I think that can be in really great spots. Now, Mike Conley is going up against the 10th ranked true DVP against the point guard position. We are not afraid to target the San Antonio Spurs at the point guard spot. Plus, Mike Conley owes me money. We can also rock with Marc Gasol. I like him and the spot that he is in. The injury concerns we do have from this game is Tony Allen is a game time decision, as well as David Lee being a game time decision on the San Antonio side. So I wouldn't go too deep into the Memphis bench or Memphis players in general. The two guys that really stand out to me is going to be Mike Conley and Marc Gasol. They need a win. They need to win this game, and I think that they have a really solid chance of doing so. It's an 8-point spread, but you know what? We've got to ignore the spreads. We've got to ignore the spreads in some spots, man, because when guys are playing for playoff spots, this is playoff basketball, bro. Like, we can avoid that. So we've got Kawhi Leonard priced up at 9.2. Don't let that scare you, man. This is the 10th ranked DVP against a small forward position. I don't have an issue rostering him. We talked about LaMarcus Aldridge, a guy that I really like. Think he's in a really solid spot. Tony Parker, man, is somebody who kind of interests me because he's very cheap at 4K. And if he sees 25 minutes, man, I think that he can definitely make a splash in this game too. So that's somebody that I am going to highlight and going to take a look at a little bit further. The last game on the slate and the late night hammer game is my New York Knicks going to Portland, to the Motor Center, to take on one of my favorite point guards. I love to watch this kid play. He is an awesome talent, and I'm going to have a ton of him because at this point in the season, dude is just playing lights out. I'm talking about Dame Lillard. Now, there is an injury concern on the New York Knicks side that's going to affect Dame Lillard or the backcourt in general for the Portland Trail Blazers. That is, we may not see Derrick Rose tomorrow. I think he sprained his ankle or sprained his foot kind of in the end of that game against Utah. So they're on the second leg of a back-to-back. Don't know if we're going to see him tomorrow. If that be the case, we can definitely look a little bit deeper on the New York side. This is a 10.5-point spread, just so you know, and it's a 218-point total. Guys like Courtney Lee, you're probably going to see an increase in usage. Maybe some Kristaps Porzingis would. So those would be the guys that I would target the most. And we had a report that, Melo doesn't want to play anymore this season. And if that be the case, man, I don't know if I can rock with Melo in that spot. So the two guys that I like for the New York Knicks are going to be Kristaps Porzingis and Courtney Lee. I think that gives us really solid options if we wanted to pay up for these Portland guys. Dame Lillard jumps off of the page for me, as well as CJ McCollum. Shooting guards against my New York Knicks is a thing. I like Yusuf Nurkic in this spot. I think we can even look to the bench and grab a guy like Al-Farouq Aminu in some spots. So while this is not a star-studded slate, a mega star-studded slate, there's some very good value in here. Really good opportunities for us to stack. Remember, play lightly. If you're not comfortable with the slate, play very lightly. Baseball's coming up. We've got a lot of stuff going on for that. There's no need to deplete your entire bankroll on slates that you're uncomfortable with. So this has been your DFS Jerusalem. You can follow me, of course, on DFS Jerusalem. If you are a member of the DFS Sweatshop, I will be live with you in the VIP tomorrow at about 3:30. We're gonna be slate breaking and chopping it up, doing some stacks and seeing what we can come up with. Of course, I love you all, man. Thank y'all. You have a wonderful and profitable Thursday, and let's go out and keep it 300.